I do feel like the pay gap would be something that, we could just take a donation around the NBA maybe.
The WNBA pay gap explained, is it fair or foul? Behind the glow of the spotlight, you hear the sneakers, the whistle, the applause. WNBA stars shine on broadcast screens, on city streets, in headlines. Names like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Breanna Stewart are celebrated.
Maybe one night y'all don't go to the casino.
I have something on this, though, because it pisses me off.
The league is growing faster than ever. TV deals, merch sales, new teams. But then there's the other side. Take a star like Paige Bueckers, first year in the league, making around $78,000. Not enough to cover rent in an expensive city. Like Angel Reese said, after winning a bonus purse of $50,000, she still has to hustle just to survive on a WNBA salary that often can't cover basic living costs. The gap isn't small, it's seismic. This film will dive into 5 truths behind the WNBA pay gap. You'll uncover why it's not just about men earning more. It's about fairness, growth, and how the game is valued. And when you hear the numbers and the fight, they won't leave you asking, is it fair? But demanding, how do we change it? The WNBA makes billions, but pays players only a slice. The NBA and WNBA aren't equal, but the stakes are linked. The NBA generates billions, the WNBA just hundreds of millions. Yet players in both leagues give everything, every practice, playoff, piece of themselves. In the NBA, players typically earn about 50% of the league's revenue. In the WNBA, just 9.3%. That's a fraction written into contracts and unfair at a moment when women's basketball is scaling new heights. Countdown. If the WNBA shared revenue like the NBA, average salaries could rise from about $147,000 to over $1 million per season. That's still not equal, but it aligns with the league's real value and growth. Contracts still anchor. Back to an old era. In 2020, a new collective bargaining agreement, CBA, delivered raises. Minimum salary rose to about $57,000 to $68,000. Maximum was capped at $215,000 or slightly more for elite players. But living costs in major cities have not paused. Top rookies like Caitlin Clark earned $78,000, while NBA #1 pick Victor Wembanyama unlocked a staggering $12.5 million contract. That's a difference of more than 160 times, even before endorsements. To build equity, players aren't asking NBA money. They are demanding equitable percentage-based contracts tied to league earnings, which have grown dramatically since that 2020 agreement began. Sponsors are now flooding the league, TV ratings are climbing, and merch sales are reaching new highs. Yet the paychecks still lag behind the visibility and profit the players generate. Many argue the current contracts fail to reflect players' roles as cultural drivers and global ambassadors. Without new adjustments, the pay gap threatens to undermine morale and slow momentum in a league on the rise. Rising popularity, but pay remains low. 2024 was a breakout year. WNBA viewership surged nearly 170%. Ticket sales, jersey sales, fan engagement exploded. Media rights deals jumped from $60 million annually to $2.2 billion over 11 years starting 2026. 3 new franchises are already confirmed for Cleveland, Detroit, Philadelphia, and more planned. Expansion fees of $250 million each mean nearly $1 billion flowing into the league, and nowhere near fair compensation for the women on court. The players wore black t-shirts saying, "Pay us what you owe us," at the 2025 All-Star Weekend, a protest that echoed across the arena and across the sports world. The league is no longer niche. It's now a major player in the sports economy. Brands are lining up to sponsor teams, and social media followings for stars like Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark rival those of top NBA names. But the financial rewards haven't kept pace with the fame or performance. Fans, players, and even some owners agree. Growth without fair pay is exploitation in disguise. Some players must play overseas to earn a living. In Europe or Australia, top WNBA stars can earn more in 3 months than the league gives them all season. Approximately 70% of WNBA players spend their off-season overseas just to earn a wage that doesn't vanish in rent, training costs, and savings for the next season. Players like Angel Wilson or Brittany Griner have spoken about this, highlighting the grind of year-round travel, exhaustion, and risk to simply earn what other athletes get paid in one season at home. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity for survival in a system that still undervalues their work. The constant travel increases the risk of injury, shortens careers, and deprives athletes of real rest. Many miss holidays, family events, and basic off-season recovery, luxuries male counterparts often take for granted. It's not just a pay gap, it's a quality of life gap that forces players to choose between passion and personal well-being. It's not just gender, it's perception and investment. The WNBA was founded in 1997, decades after the NBA. It has historically had less investment, fewer media slots, fewer commercials, fewer time slots, and minimal marketing dollars allocated to promoting its stars. Players argue that the issue is not performance, it's visibility. If the league invested more in marketing its talent and saw them as real global icons, public interest would grow, fans would tune in, sponsors would flood in, and then salaries could truly reflect the value athletes bring. Fashion influencers, brand deals, and personal marketing agreements, PMAs, have become critical revenue boosters for players, but they rarely translate into fair salary increases from the league itself. Are these salaries fair or foul? With passion and public pressure mounting, voices from across the sports world are weighing in. Shaquille O'Neal called the gap unacceptable, proposing dimbles like lowering rims to boost excitement and thus revenue, suggesting creative ways to elevate visibility and pay. Barstool Sports' Dave Portnoy offered to invest $250 million to bring a WNBA team to Boston, banking on stars like Caitlin Clark driving value. He challenged the narrative that WNBA is uninvestable and argued that paying players more is justified by real growth in audience, merchandise, and media deals. At the All-Star Game, fans chanted, "Pay them," as players protested not for gender parity, but for revenue parity, equity, and fair treatment on a league they helped to build. What comes next? The CBA and expansion negotiations. The current CBA expires in 2025. Players opted out to negotiate a fairer deal, demanding a shift toward revenue-based contracts, higher minimum salaries, better travel benefits, and stronger support for roster security. They face a real threat of a labor stoppage if meaningful progress isn't made, and many argue that's long overdue. Without a new deal that reflects the league's value, player unrest and talent loss remain real risks. Emotional reflection. What this means for women in sports. Imagine training your life to reach the top professional level and being paid barely enough to exist. That's the reality many WNBA athletes face. Stars and veterans alike share stories of paying rent with prize money, accepting injuries overseas, and building personal brands just to survive. Their fight isn't against men, it's for respect, for compensation tied to performance, visibility, and the real revenue they help generate, for systems ensuring they don't sacrifice health or future earnings just to play the game they love. Is it fair or foul? The numbers are clear. WNBA players earn in the low hundreds of thousands, while NBA players pull in millions, even for rookies. The gap isn't shrinking fast enough, but the opportunity is real too. With rapidly rising viewership, expansion to 6 new franchises, massive media deals, and public support, the WNBA stands at a crossroads. The question isn't just whether it's fair. The question is, will the league act? You watch these athletes shine on the court, but behind every jump shot and highlight reel, there's a silent struggle for fair pay, for respect, for equity. They're not asking for NBA salaries. They're asking for a fair share in a league they built with skill, sweat, and spirit. Is the WNBA pay gap fair or foul? It's foul. But with momentum building, fair is on the horizon. So ask yourself, will you support the fight? Share the message. Wear the t-shirt. Watch the game, not just the plays, but the meaning behind them. Because this isn't just sports. It's a battle for equality, and it's just getting started. Let's keep the conversation alive. Which truth surprised you the most? Type it below. If this opened your eyes, like it. Subscribe for more real looks inside sports, power, and fairness.